Hey King University, my name's Carissa, and today I want to talk to you about something that's a little outside of the social norm. Death is inevitable, as well as the grief that consumes our loved ones that are left behind. One day you and everyone on this earth will experience grief through the loss of a loved one. It is important that you understand the process of grief, as well as things you can do to improve your mental health while you grieve. The past 2 weeks have been pretty hard for me. On January 10th, I lost my grandfather to cancer and several other serious health conditions. While this isn't the first time I've lost someone, and it certainly won't be the last, it never gets any easier, especially when you lose someone like my grandfather. I would like to take a few minutes to discuss the stages of grief, as well as things we can do to promote our mental health while we grieve. Specifically, I would like to discuss the 5 stages of grief that was developed by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, according to Christina Hibbert, Doctor of Psychology, in 2018. Additionally, I would like to discuss things we can do to improve our mental health while we grieve, like spending time with friends and family. Let's begin with the 5-stage model that was developed by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. The 5 stages of grief occur when we are grieving the loss of a loved one, a pet, or something we deeply care about. According to Julie Axelrod in a Psych Central article in 2018, not all of us are going to experience all the stages of grief, and we may not experience them in the same order. And that's because each one of us grieves differently, and that's okay. So here is a visual model of the 5 stages. The first stage is denial, and that's right here. During this stage, we try to deny what's happening. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. There's no way this is happening to me. And that's because facing the reality is just too hard at this point. Step 2 is anger. And during that stage, we project anger at anyone we can. Friends, family, the physicians, even our deceased loved one. The third stage is bargaining, and it is right here. And during this stage, it's full of if only statements and guilt. If only I would have been there more. If only I would have sought out a second opinion, that sort of thing. The 4th stage is depression, right here. And during this stage, it's full of low sadness, and it's mind-numbing, really. During this stage, you change a lot of your habits. You avoid contact with friends and family. You just want to sit at home alone and contemplate on the past. The 5th stage is acceptance, here in the middle. And this is the stage where you finally come to terms with what has happened, and you accept it for what it is. This does not mean that you are okay with what has happened, because most people never are, and that's okay. Now that you're kind of familiar with the 5 stages of grief, let's move on to things we can do to promote our mental health while we're grieving. Grieving is a painful part of life, but we are all capable of healing. There are many ways to promote mental health while you're grieving, but I'm only going to go over 2. It is essential that you are familiar with these concepts, because you can use this when you grieve, and you will at some point, to promote your mental health to help you feel better. According to a 2018 FuneralWise article, it is important that we spend time with our friends and family. Guys, spending time with your friends and family after you lose someone you love, it really does help. Do not isolate yourself from others. That just makes everything so much harder and so much worse. It's also important that we take care of our health. Don't let your body go, and don't let your health go. This has long-term consequences. It's essential that we are familiar with the process of grief, as well as things we can do to promote our mental health. Earlier we discussed the 5 stages of grief that was developed by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and 2 ways to promote healthy mental healing while we grieve. One day, you will need this information to cope with the loss, just as I need it right now to cope with the loss of my grandfather. Grieving and death may be taboo words in today's society, but it is It's a part of life, and it's better to understand it than to avoid them altogether.